Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Folks, this is the Badass Counseling Show podcast. You have found us, and it is great to have you here with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Whether you are tuning in from Wisconsin, Denver, Manitoba, or from Fallbrook, California, it is just wonderful to have you checking in with our show. This is a lightning round episode where we answer your questions that you send firing at us. We are live presently, right this minute, on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I'm joined in studio by KC over in the booth, and Rob the Rocket, who we just found out when we get everybody checked in before we start the show, find out where everyone's checking in from. One of our listeners up in, the people were saying, what does Rob even look like? I say, just go to YouTube, because you can see him on YouTube, but you can't on TikTok and Facebook. And so Rob comes around and he gets in the picture. And one of our faithful listeners up in, who's from northern Minnesota, but's down south right now, Babs, she says, no way is he 70. And then another one of our listeners, Carrie Lynn, says, 76 is the new 60. So Rob, feeling the love.
I absolutely love that. I can die happy now.
You are in great shape, my man. And he is what the oil that keeps the engine running. And that's not a lie. That is not a lie at all. All right, we are going to get started, folks. We've got a lot of questions here. We just did a counseling episode, or a lightning round right before this episode, and I had 1 or 2 people say, how do I get my question answered? I have to leave early. And I said, just fire it in right away before they start piling up and coming at us fast. So I'm going to try to hit a bunch of them right away because I don't remember the name of the person that asked us. Anyway, here's the first one. From Tracy Haynes on Facebook. Can someone who's been drinking since they were 17 and knows they are an alcoholic, probably just a typo, stop drinking for a new relationship? That's the reason why we broke up. Can they? Yes. It's never an issue of can you. Is it difficult? Oh, you fucking bet your ass. Especially if they've been doing it since they were 17. Is it difficult? Yes. Can they? Yes. I had to curb back my drinking at one stage in my life where it was just out of hand. And I went to the doctor and I said, you got to help me out, doc. Is there anything at all? And they prescribed some little fucking medicine. I don't even remember the name of it. And it was just a couple little pills, no side effects. And I would take 2 of them. Like if I normally had my first Tiddly at 5 o'clock, I'd take it at like 4. And that cut my alcohol intake like by 2/3. And I took that pill for about 2 years, and eventually I could just do it on my own. So now, in the years since that time, I'll have, a couple of drinks if I go out with friends. Maybe I'll have half a glass of wine at dinner and then a cocktail afterwards or something like that. But what it's done. And so it's not a question of can you, it's a question of will, do you desire to? And then what are you willing to do to make it happen? It's interesting. I have a very dear friend who had to give up both cocaine and cigarettes. And this person said, Sven, cigarettes were 10 times harder than cocaine. This was back in the 80s, all right? In 90s, actually, they're trying to give it up from the 80s, as so many people were. And this person kept smoking into their late 40s and said, Sven, giving up smoking was so much harder. I had to go on Chantrix, and it took me a bunch of times, but I finally did it. But it's not a question of can you, it's will you. And that's what you're tracking with this person. And the thing, if you're getting into a relationship with someone who has been addicted to things, or someone who has broken your trust, or someone who has cheated on you, you have to go into it with this mentality of someone who is basically recovering from, addiction. And you have to go into it with the mentality they could go back on any day. That no matter if and they know that. That's why they get that 1-year coin or that 5-year or the 10-year coin. It's just like, I've made it this far, but I know that even tomorrow I could be picking up the bottle again. If you're not okay living in that state, that there is no permanence. There's just one more day. If you can't live that way, then this relationship isn't for you. And that's okay to admit that. But be clear with yourself now, because it is going to be anxiety producing if you don't. And that means, once again, what are we brought back to, folks? That it is our own feelings that get in the way, our own agitation, our own anxiety, our own fear. All right, next question. Here we go. A lot of good ones coming in, you guys. This is great. Erica Greer on Facebook asked the question. Good to see you, Erica, by the way. Erica is one of our frequent listeners. I'm stuck in the angry stage. I still can't talk about my dad's passing with anyone. I don't want to remember anything about him right now. I wrote so many letters of anger. How long am I going to be angry? I know I've him. There's a word or two is missing there. I'm stuck in the angry stage. And you'll be stuck in that angry stage until it's all out of you. I don't doubt that you've written letters of anger, but clearly there's more. We had somebody ask about this on a previous show that we had taped. Sven, I've got all these feelings of, in that person's case, it was longing for their ex. They had been together 30 years. And I just long for this person. And when will it be gone? I want to move on with my life. We had another person say, my 16-year-old daughter died. When will I want to have joy in my life, but I just feel so stuck? That our body will naturally move on when we've naturally gotten all this stuff out, when we've deliberately gotten all this stuff out. And the more deliberate you are about getting all that anger out, I don't care how many you've written, it's not enough. That tells you how much anger there is. And what it also says is there's something down deeper that you're not hitting yet, something even deeper that you're more angry about, or also go to where the hurt is. Because a lot of times when people get stuck in anger, that the anger is safer than going into the sadness. Or some people get stuck in the sadness because expressing sadness is easier or safer than going into the anger. So what I would offer is there may be bigger things, deeper things that you're angry about that you haven't identified yet, or it's also possible that there's just more there that you have to flush out, or third option, and that is it's possible that there's a lot of sadness and sorrow that you don't want to touch. And saying stuck in the anger is a safety place from the sadness. So explore those 3 different things in your journaling. All right, next question. Positive Princess Martinez asked the question, I have abandonment issues. How do you heal from that? All right, first of all, what I'm going to say is normally I don't let people use psych phrases on the show. Generally, not because they're bad or anything, but I'm not a psychologist. All right, and I openly state that, whatever. But more importantly is oftentimes they're so laden with so many different meanings. It's like telling someone you believe in God. Well, but what does that mean? Right? There can be a million different definitions, right? None of them is intrinsically wrong, but how the hell am I going to know what I'm really talking about with this person about, when they say they believe in God, or when they say, I like to travel? Well, what does that mean though, specifically in the United States or around the world, or just mind travel, or what are we talking about here? So I have abandonment issues. How do you heal from that? A couple of things. One, fear. You need to remember 2 words, fear and pain, fear and pain. Oh, well, third one is also core beliefs. Basically, if you have abandonment issues, it's because you've been hurt in the past, that you have been left, or you've lived in the fear of being left. All right? And abandonment issues, and again, we're just dealing with this very large catch-all here, but it's going to go all the way back to childhood. That is somewhere in your childhood, you lived in the fear of being hurt, or ones you loved left you alone. It may not be that they left you for good, but maybe they left you every day. Maybe you were left at home. I know in generation I grew up in, I was left at home. My mom was a substitute teacher, and the school was literally 1 block away from the house. Now, this was back in literally like 1969, 1970, 1971. So it was a different world back then, people. But I'd be home alone. And it's like, bum, 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 bum. Mom's just, got half a day. Sven, I'll be home in a few hours. Sometimes I'd just walk down to the school and try to find mom, or I'd sit in the library, or I'd go to the teacher's lounge, whatever. But the point is, if it's a repeated thing, such that the child was living in fear or living in pain from that being alone and that loneliness, that what? You're naturally going to fear it again. So that abandonment issue is about a fear. Fear is always driven by what? Past pain, present pain, or potential future pain. And so that abandonment issue is a fear of potential pain. And so then it's going back into your past and finding out what the origins are. What's the earliest you can go back where you have memories of being left, being rejected, being left alone, or getting messages that they could have been in the room with you, but you felt very alone. I had a client who said, I remember in my childhood growing up, it was just me and then my parents, and every night after dinner, my parents would just go into the TV room, and I can still remember the backs of their chairs to the rest of the room. And all I remember is just the TV on and the backs of their chairs, and they're in their chairs watching TV. And I spent my entire life in my bedroom. I have never felt more alone than when my parents were in the room. How's that for abandonment issues? All right. And so it's fear, it's pain, but then also those underlying messages that you were taught to believe about yourself. See, that's what we really fear in the idea of being alone, in being left alone, in someone walking away, is what happens next. What happens inside of you when you are abandoned, when you are rejected, when you are left alone. It's what happens next. What are the messages that rise up inside of you and attack you from within and tumble around in your brain and inside your soul and in your gut? All those messages that you got somewhere likely in childhood from the most powerful people in your life telling you, see, you're unlovable, see, you're not wanted, you're not wantable, you're not good enough. And those messages are what attack us from the inside. And so if I fear someone abandoning me, I'm going to hold on to them. Why? Because they are then the living, breathing buffer between me and those voices inside me that attack me when I am alone. All right, Rob, you got a question for me?
Yes, I do, Sven. Over on YouTube, we have Sandy, who says, after divorce, you need time to be alone. I feel I've been alone for years now. I'm 72. How long should you wait? I'm not getting any younger.
No, there is no should, Sandy. Okay, first of all, there is no should. As far as being alone, I mean, if it's not the period of time per se, it's what you're doing in that time. My question to you, Sandy, is, have you explored, have you been going inside yourself, doing introspection? I mean, literally, like on paper, not just thinking in your head, but getting out of your head, getting out of your gut, everything in you. Have you been flushing out the feelings from your previous relationships? Have you gone into them and said, hey, what was it about that hurt? What is it I did wrong? What is it that they did wrong? Have you gone into, for instance, what I was just talking about with Positive Princess Martinez over on Facebook, of why you might have held on to that relationship too long or pushed it away too quickly? Have you gone into it and begun to disgorge the feelings, the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself? And not only from that past relationship, past relationships, from especially the childhood, which is why, back to Positive Princess Martinez, that's why you need to read the book. One of my books, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. You need to read that book. Anyway, so back to it, Sandy. Have you done the work of flushing it out? Well, it's almost like you're saying, how long should I be single? Well, it sounds like you've been single. It's not, there is no should, because clearly you are longing to not be single. You are longing to connect. So why not begin the process of stepping out there and meeting people, even if stepping out is just online, or it's just at your church, or it's just at the market, or it's just allowing the door to be open in your life, no longer living with closed doors like gates on a medieval castle, to begin to open up to life again. There is no should. It's, I would offer, have you continued, and are you continuing to always be flushing out, crud inside of you, past memories, pain, fears, etc. But are you also open to it? And are you taking any active steps that might feel good? Rob had an experience recently in the last year of going online and had some shitty experiences and had some wonderful experiences. Now he's in a wonderful relationship because he went online and waded through a lot of the dross.
A lot, yes.
But then dated some lovely gals. I met some of them. And then the woman that he's been in a relationship with now for several months, she's just a peach. I love her to death. All right. And so the point is, but he didn't do it until he was ready to start putting himself out there. And even when he was out there, he was still cleaning up stuff from his own past, especially the last year or two, et cetera, and some childhood stuff and some stuff with his brother, et cetera, et cetera. All right, next question. Here we go. Thomas Langley is asking the question. Tom's a regular listener. Thomas is. Good day, Thomas. Thanks for asking your question. He asked the question, any tips on how to pace myself? I'm finding it hard to be patient and stay evolving to find my voice. I would actually ask you the question, why do you think you need to pace yourself? Oh, you previously asked right before that. I didn't see this. I'm doing somatic therapy a month now. I read Love Cup, did the journaling. My soul is tired from all the change. That tells me, in all honesty, first of all, I applaud you for doing the work. And it can be exhausting. But what that tells me, Thomas, is there's still something that's stuck. Because when you go down deeper and deeper into it and you're ejecting all of the crud that comes up, the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself, when you're doing the deepest level ejecting, it's a feeling of lightness, not a feeling of exhaustion. So what that tells me is there's either something still stuck down and deep inside of you that you haven't touched or you're afraid to touch, or you've brought the stuff up but not done the ejecting. You've done the phase one of bringing some stuff up, but there's something still that you are not letting go, not wanting to go into. It has come up, but you're not wanting to go into it insofar as doing the journaling or the letter writing or the working on it with your therapist. But there's something that either you haven't touched yet that is down there that you don't want to touch, or something that's already up that you don't want to begin to actually feel as you're doing the work of journaling it. Next question. Virginia Threlkeld asked a question that sort of piggybacks on what I answered there with you, Thomas, so I know you're further along, and Virginia admits that. Virginia says, how do you start to feel once again, once you have buried so much? That's a great question. I get this, people who are wanting to feel again when they've buried so much, or someone who has no memories from childhood, or someone where everything is buried, okay? And the answer is simply this. Start with, I tell people, just start with baby steps. Inch by inch, life's a cinch. I really believe that. I used to teach my lifters back when I was an NCAA strength coach. It's like, we want to be super strong right now today. It's like, trust me, if you just start making small gains, you're going to start to feel it, and that gets you jacked up to make more small gains. And so in this case, Virginia asked a very good question. How do you start to feel once again when you have buried so much? Start with yesterday. Seriously, start with something small. Start with when somebody pissed you off by cutting you off in the checkout line at the grocery store. Start with when you were disappointed because you didn't get that raise just 5 days ago before Christmas break, or 2 weeks ago before, or 2 months ago, or before whatever break, or on your end of the year review. All right? Start wherever you can start, where you have some feeling, even if it's just from today. Maybe right now, maybe I answered a question that pissed you off because you feel like I hurt somebody's feelings, or I didn't really get to the real issue. Start with any feeling you have. Start right there, Virginia, and write it down. I'm feeling pissed at Sven because I felt like his answer was fucking stupid and he's an idiot. Okay, great. Start there. What are you feeling? I'm mad and I'm feeling disappointed. Okay, great. You just nailed a feeling. You asked the question, how do you start to feel once again when you've buried so much? You just nailed the feeling. And you're like, yeah, but come on, Sven, that's stupid. That's nothing. But that's where it starts, Virginia. Part of my responsibilities when I was an NCAA strength coach at a university was I wasn't just working with the college athletes. We also, the women's Olympic hockey team used to train at our rink. And so they would be in my gym lifting, and I would interact with them as well. But then we also had faculty, men and women in their frickin' 70s and 80s. We had new students, 16, 17 years old. I was working with all people, newbies and lifelong lifters, all right? And the thing is, if you go into the gym and you're a brand new lifter, are you going to throw, a few hundred pounds on the bar and just start lifting right there? No, you're not. I'm going to start you small, and I'm going to make it almost easy. I'm going to tax you a little bit. I don't believe in trainers who just just bust your ass the first week. No, that's fucking stupid because they're going to need 2 fucking weeks to recover. And so now you've just wasted 2 weeks. I would rather just ease you in slowly. Let's just ease you in, get you going through the motions, get those tendons and ligaments limbered up. Well, it's the same way with this stuff. Just start with you ask the question, how do you start to feel once again when you have buried so much? Just start small and journal about it and get in the habit of writing and flushing it out. Well, what am I feeling now that I wrote out how I feel on this particular thing? Well, I'm still feeling frustrated. Boom, great. You just nailed another feeling. And if you don't even have words for feelings, Google it. There are lists of words. Pull the ones up from Sedona Method, lists of feelings, all right? And that'll begin to expand your vocabulary, but you start small and it'll grow. And as you get better at flushing those feelings out, your feelings your soul will begin to send up more memories, more feelings. And then you can go a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. I swear to God, it fucking works. All right. We are going to take a very quick break and we'll come right back after this commercial.
You've heard Sven talk a lot about his book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. And that's because Sven hears from his followers a lot about how much the book has helped them. If you're not sure how to handle the issues getting in the way of a better life, you're not alone. And you have a lot of choices. But thousands of readers will tell you that this is a great place to start, by yourself and at your own pace. So go to badasscounseling.com and order There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and you'll have Sven right there with you as you forge your best future. It's totally badass. So get started today.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
We are back with more questions. All right, I've got a question right here from G Bay Girly 81 on TikTok asking the question, any advice for someone who's a new therapist? Yes, absolutely. I've got therapists, I've got psychologists, I have some psychiatrists who are clients, some who are in Community Plus, which is our group. We've got a psychologist and a therapist over there, and all sorts of folks check in regularly with the show, and I'm very blessed and honored that maybe they're able to pick up one or two things, and I try to pick things up from every single one of you. For me personally, having been in this business for 33 years, whatever it is, and having grown up with two parents who were professional counselors, and my mom was the most sage, wise old woman you've ever met. And so I've grown up in this. A few things. The question is, any advice for someone who's a new therapist? Yes. One, if you are not doing deep therapy on yourself, you are screwing yourself out of your maximum power. You are screwing your clients. Why? Because you don't know half of what you could know if you were doing therapy on yourself. You should be journaling your fucking ass off. You should be analyzing your dreams, just playing with them, interpreting them. You should be doing, just journaling, even more than therapy with a therapist, teaching yourself how to go in deep on yourself. Because then you're going to begin to master yourself. You're going to begin to ask yourself questions and see how questions work on yourself, which questions work. So for me, I just stumbled across questions by working on myself. Questions like, what's the hardest part? What's the scariest part? What's the most exciting part, as methods for opening people up? Why? Because it would work with me. And why? And when? And I only learned about the power of the question when by my work on myself. It's like there are a few questions more powerful in understanding a person's problems than by getting at the whens, because if once you can determine the when, then it's easy to pinpoint the hows, and then we can dive into the whys and the how does it feels. Okay, so, but it all comes from journaling on yourself, and guess what that'll do? The more you do that, the more you're going to give yourself permission to explore curiosity with your client. Why? Because you're going to understand the power of curiosity with your own self. I am never afraid anymore, rarely afraid anymore to ask a question when counseling clients. And if you're not afraid and you're still new, then you're not going to the hard stuff. If it doesn't scare the shit out of you to ask some questions, it still does at times, but if it doesn't scare the shit out of you, you're not doing real therapy. Why? Because it should be scary. Because some of the questions you're going to ask are going to seem offensive. And how you phrase those offensive questions. And I will literally say, listen, this is going to sound very offensive. And I come in peace. I mean no harm when I say this, but I have to ask. Why am I asking? Because my own fucking curiosity. And I'll ask questions that maybe an outside observer would never ask, but I'm asking because I am really curious. And so it's the courage to trust your own curiosity, but that only comes from doing work on yourself, getting out all of your own fears. Have you gone into where your own anxieties come from, your greatest fears, your core belief system? Can you identify the core belief that you believe about yourself, that you were taught to believe? Have you done the work of actually extracting your own core beliefs? And that's what my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, is for, to help you begin to dive down and extract those things, those core beliefs that you were taught about yourself that were never true, that have been the virus infecting the operating system of your life. But ultimately, it is your knowledge of yourself and your work on yourself that will inform everything else that you do. It will give you courage, and it will give you knowledge and wisdom like you just wouldn't have otherwise. I've got a follow-up or a new question here. Great question, though. Thank you. From Heather Scott on Facebook, who asked the question, stepdad conditioned me to be afraid of my own choices. Can't go against others or I will be punished. How do I give safety to myself and stop procrastinating? You give safety to yourself by not trying to give safety to yourself. And I know that sounds like, oh, that's clever, Sven. Well done. What the fuck does that mean? What that means is you don't fix a problem by trying to give yourself something. You fix this problem by trying to take something away from you. And what you want to identify and begin to get out of you is the fear and the pain that's causing you to not trust your own voice. You've lived in fear and pain. You were likely criticized for the decisions you made. You were likely told that you were stupid. You were taught to believe that your voice, it's not just to be afraid of your own choices, but in fact to not trust your own inner decision-making self. And when we are constantly micromanaging children, the underlying, or saying to our teenager or to our young adult, well, you should really do this, you're fundamentally saying to that person, you're fucking stupid. And I don't like you who you are. So you should do this. I want you to be this. And you should do this implies you don't know how to solve your problems. I need to solve them for you. It's fundamentally an insult for two different reasons. Whereas one of the things that I'm the biggest advocate of saying to children is simply this: you make good decisions, especially when they've made a mistake. Especially when they've made a mistake. It's like when, I was coaching and somebody failed at something, I would be down there saying, well, we can tweak this and this, but the truth is you're getting stronger. You are successful. You're doing just fine. You're on the right path. Why? Because we all fuck up. We all make mistakes. So telling a child, that was a dumb mistake, don't trust yourself, versus it's all right, you make good decisions. So this one didn't work out perfectly. What can we learn from it? But you make good decisions. So in the case of yourself, what you have to get out of yourself is the core beliefs that you were taught to believe about yourself, that your voice can't be trusted, that who you are is not good enough, that who you authentically are is unlikable. You have a fear of not being liked. You have a fear of getting hurt if you put your authentic self out there. You need to read the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. All right, next question.
Sven, this is kind of inside baseball, but I'd be interested in your take on this.
All right.
Honor Hour Music asks, how does your team handle your emotions when keeping up with ever-changing algorithmic demands and promoting your social media presence?
How does my team keep up with my emotions?
Yes, how do we handle our emotions when we're trying to keep up with all the changes?
It's not me, it's how do
the team.
The team. How do your people around you, and what do you do? How do you handle your emotions when you're working on a team and you're all just trying to keep up with everything and keep the show moving forward? The way you handle emotions, folks, and the choir sings, journal and write letters you don't send. It's handling emotions, managing emotions isn't fundamentally about handling or managing. It's fundamentally about getting them all out of you. And it's when they're in here and I'm trying to manage them or contort them, or I'm going to put them in a box for an hour or whatever, or for a lifetime. That's what they're chewing you up from the inside. Now, the truth is sometimes, you have to box it up for a moment, right? You're on a sales call, or you're showing a house, or you're in the middle of a game if you're an athlete, or you're in the middle of a performance if you're a musician, or you're sitting down with the client, a customer, and you're talking them through what they're going through. And then you just happen to glance at your phone and you get this piece of bad news. Your son is on the way to the hospital and your spouse has him and it's under control. And it's just like all of a sudden you're spinning shit in your head and you're charged up with emotion, fear, anger, whatever it might be. But you also know this is a big client and you need this customer to keep putting food on the table. So you bottle up that emotion temporarily, and then you stay on the call, but you have to come back to those emotions later, and you have to discharge them. So how do you deal with your emotions when you're trying to run a team and so on and so forth? The same way we deal with any emotions in any situation, whether it's letting go of a lover or moving on from a death or whatever it is, by flushing them out. Did we hit the question, Rob?
I think so. I mean, specifically asking about how we handle differences in the algorithms on social media, but that's a different kind of story.
Well, wait a minute. How we handle differences in the algorithms on social media and the feelings with regard to them, or how do you actually navigate those?
How do we handle our emotions when dealing with that?
Oh, shit. Yeah, no, I hear you on that, man. I capped out at 2.1 million followers on TikTok, and it has not moved off of that for freaking 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. And the frustration over that. And what am I doing wrong? And am I shadow banned? And da. It's just like any other emotions. It is just like anything else. It's flushing it out, flushing it out, flushing it out. We went through that with the podcast. There was a dip in our numbers. Every business goes through the occasional trough, and we're like, what the fuck are we doing wrong? All of our anxiety and so forth. It's just like, we have to do what we do. What am I constantly telling people? Flush it out, get the emotions out, and then just stay the course and keep chipping away at the path that you believe in, doing the best with the knowledge that you have in front of you. All right. Here we go. G. Marshall asked a very hard question. G. Marshall asked a question on TikTok. Am I the asshole father for moving away to better myself? I still see my kids twice a month. It's fascinating you're asking that question. Why are you asking that question? Is someone trying to make you feel like an asshole? Do you innately feel like an asshole? In other words, do you innately feel guilt, feel bad? Is someone trying to make you feel bad? You said you did it to better yourself, and you still see your kids twice a month. The judgment of what you did in the end is up to you. I would simply ask you, what do you believe? Who do you say that I am, so to speak? That's what it is. What is your belief? In the end, that's what matters. And furthermore, are you bringing the love to your children? I mean, let's be very honest. There are plenty of people in plenty of careers who spend a lot of time away from their children. Military, for one. Hell, if you're in the Navy, you're spending, 6 months out of every year away from your kids. Oftentimes. Or if you're deployed to war. Or if you're a traveling salesperson, whatever it is. But the question is, are you letting that turn into a habit inside of you that you are detaching from them because of the physical distance? Or are you not only maintaining, but building up a relationship with your children more than just putting in the time? Are you fully present to them when you are with them? Your feelings of being an asshole or not being an asshole, either someone's trying to ram that shit down your throat or you innately believe it. But either way, your feeling bad about this decision you make is keeping you from just fucking, at some point, moving forward and enjoying life and making the best of it for your children. Now, if you want to do more for your children, then find ways to be there more. In some way, be there. Now, whether that's contact every day through social media, through calls, through FaceTime, whatever it is, but the bottom line is you've got to keep pressing yourself to be ever more deliberate parent, whether you are right next door or whether you are in a different state. Are you pressing yourself to become a better parent to your children? And that's not always right next door, or it's not always right there all the time, and that's okay. But the question is, well, then what are you doing? And only you can answer that question. And you've got to be open to the possibility that your children are going to have pain. Are you receptive to the sadness they are feeling? Are you allowing them to flush out their feelings to you, or are you just trying to shut that down because it makes you feel shitty? Can you be present to their feelings? Can you welcome their feelings? Can you allow them to talk about it without it being some grand judgment on your character? Can you be the source of that urn, that vessel that allows them to dump their crap, whether it's about you or just about life? That's what your job is. You're partly their therapist. That's what part of our job is as parents, especially when our children are young, right? Is to be able to listen and not get all cranked up about our own shit. So you got a lot of work to do, but can you make that work and be a great father and be a source of life and love and energy for your children? You absolutely can. So make it fucking work. You can do this. And as far as judgment of whether or not you're an asshole, that's up to you. Do you judge yourself? And if someone else is trying to judge you, fuck them. If it's your own children, well, then you need to be present and allow them to flush that shit out of them. Next question. All right. 007.13 on TikTok says, I feel like I'm okay with all my childhood trauma, but not sure I've processed it correctly. How do we know when we have processed everything correctly? The question is, I would want to know, ask the question, why do you think you haven't? You say you feel like I'm okay with all of my childhood trauma, but not sure I've processed it correctly. How do we know we have processed it correctly? Which tells me, if I were to speculate, that you have some feeling in you like there's unresolved business. Like there's something that's still stuck. Start digging there. X marks the spot on the pirate map, that there is something there. Start digging. It's not that there's a right way and a wrong way. To answer your question, how do you know you've processed everything correctly? That feeling that you have of not having processed it correctly or not having done it all or something is still in you, that feeling isn't there. What you will feel, you will actually feel the sensation of lighter, stronger, clearer, more energized. If you are not experiencing those physical sensations, you have not done the work to its fullest. Why? Because you literally have the physical change in energy, in outlook on life, on clarity of your vision for your life, etc. Next question. Michelle McKenzie asks the question, or makes the statement, I don't want my son to have issues when he gets older with my decisions. Your son is going to have issues later with your decisions. It's part of parenting. Every one of your children at some point or another is going to have some issues with some parts of your parenting. There is no perfect parent. We all make mistakes. And if you are not receptive to looking at those mistakes, owning those mistakes, listening to those mistakes, admitting, I am not a perfect parent. I fucked up. I brought pain to someone I claim to love. If you can't look at that with humility and grace, and now I'm not speaking to you, Michelle, but to all of us, including myself. And if you can't listen to that and shut your fucking mouth, again, Michelle, I wasn't talking to you there, I was talking to all of us. If you can't sit in front of the child and allow them to tell you how you screwed up, in fact, if you are not, when they're in their 20s or 30s, going to them and actively asking, telling them, I think I hurt you X, Y, and Z way. And I'm sincerely sorry, and I'm beginning to understand the impact of how that might have hurt you. If you are not doing that, then you are allowing them to fester in pain that you think you have caused them. And then once you have said all those things, allowing them to talk about it, and in fact, leaving the door open for further conversation about how you might have hurt them further in ways that you might have missed, that they didn't feel comfortable or didn't realize right away. This is how we begin to help our kids get the rocks out of that burlap sack on their back, rocks that we put there. All right, next question. This one is from Spencer Spots. Spencer Spots. Try to say that 3 times fast. Spencer Spots. I can't. All right. It's kind of a long question, but I'm going to just go through it real quickly here. How can I help a friend, 23 years old, with a controlling family, can't let go because it's not the life they would live? They are overly critical about her choices, regardless if they are good ones, and don't like her seeking authenticity. The more they push, the more she runs and buries her feelings and doesn't feel safe. So you're asking, how can you help your friend with a controlling family who can't let go because it's not the life they would live? Well, I'm going to be very honest with you. Tell her to get the book. Get her the book. Get it yourself as well. There's a hole in my love cup. All right. It's my book. It'll literally walk her through the process, because what's keeping her, she's in that state. The mere fact that she is at the point where she can identify that she wants to live authentically and knows what some of those things are, and she's already endured some of the rub, some of the resistance from her family, indicates that she's already well along in the process of hearing her own authentic voice. But I talk about this in the book, that once you finally identify your voice, hearing your own voice is step 1. Step 2 is having the courage to heed, to push it out there. And why is that such a hard thing? Why does it require courage? Because you know exactly what your brother will say. You know exactly what your best friend will say. You know exactly what your father or mother will say. You know exactly what they're going to say. It's not the fear of the unknown bullshit. It's the fear of the known. That in you coming to be authentic, and I'm not just talking about your friend, Spencer, your friend. Now I'm talking about all of us. This is all of us on the path to living an authentic life. You know exactly what the naysayers are going to say. You know exactly who the naysayers are, and you know exactly who the biggest naysayer is in your life, the one that is going to push back the most, who is going to fight you the most, who's going to use their leverage as much as they can to try to get you to go back to being who you've always been. You know exactly who the fuck it is, and you know exactly what they'll say. Or pretty damn close. And that is why the path to authenticity is so damn hard. Doesn't have to take a long time at all. It's just scary, because you're fundamentally having to choose between me or them. Am I willing to lose them potentially? Whoever them are. Am I willing to lose them in the pursuit of self? That is the decision. That is the decision of life. That's the decision between life and death. Live that slow death, that decay that you've been in. That's the whole reason you want to become authentic. And that takes courage. And so she's running away to bury her feelings and doesn't feel safe. That's fine. What she needs to be doing is getting those feelings out. Get her journaling. Get her writing letters to her family that she doesn't send. She doesn't have to send the letters in order to heal, in order to get her courage. You should also get her the book. There's a hole in my love cup. But the more she gets her feelings out, guess what? She's going to go back in to becoming authentic. We all have those times when we get our ass handed to us, and then what? We lick our wounds, which is fine. You stay down, and when we're ready, we get back up and we go back into the fight. Why? Because this is a proxy battle. You know what a proxy battle is? It's fight for ownership of a company. And she's fighting with the people who have previously owned her, and that's her parents, and run the show. Her family told her who she should be. And now she's standing up and saying, no, this is my fucking company. I'm going to run my fucking company. They're like, oh, no, bitch, you need to sit the fuck down. And they're using all their powers because they think they still have power to tell her, because they think that she still wants them more than she wants herself. And she's saying, we'll see about that. Your friend will rise up, but she needs to get all her pain out of her. All right, next question. Are broken parents actually capable if their love cup is too broken? Yes. Are they actually capable of healing your relationship? Are they capable of meeting your needs? Are they capable of owning their shit? Are they capable if their love cup is too broken? Yeah, I absolutely believe that. Everyone's capable. There's no magic that some incantation that Harry Potter has hidden inside a wall somewhere. It's no, anybody can. It's about motivation. Do you want to? And the truth is, to the person asking this question, I've had clients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that I have worked with. No shit. People wanting to change, to give that gift to their children, their adult children. Fully broken. They've spent their lives being a fuckstick or whatever it is, but they chose to change. Can they? Yes. The ultimate thing is, do they have the courage? And very often it's pain and loss that break us enough, that crack us open to finally becoming a fucking human being and a member of the human race. All right. Tanya Rude says, I read your book, took notes, downloaded all the songs, finding it hard to implement in my life, though. That's because in your taking the notes, I would question, yes, but did you actually do the journaling exercises? Because if you're finding it hard to implement in your life, what that tells me is there's still stuff that's stuck inside of you. Pain, fears, bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. Taking notes is not the same as going deep into all of the journaling questions. Next question. All right. Spencer Spots follows up. So this is Spencer's second question regarding the first one and the controlling family. He says, I'm still reaching towards my purpose. The Lord hasn't told me that yet. And he says they use the faith of the Holy Scriptures to guilt trip her. Ah, yes. Leveraging religious texts to control another human being. Well, if she takes those scriptures, let's just go with Christian in this case. What I would tell her to tell them, or tell her to tell herself, is that no person can know what God is calling another person to do. Why? Because God speaks an individual calling to every single person. If you believe in God and it's the Judeo-Christian God, you can't possibly know what God is calling another person to do. So that's just fucking bullshit manipulation is what that is. But to your question, so this is actually the third question here. I'm still reaching toward my purpose. The Lord hasn't told me that yet. I'm going to treat that as an independent question. Oh, I disagree with you, Spencer. See, if we're going to talk God shit as a former clergyman, I'm going to say this, and I always used to preach this. God is always talking to us. It's just that you're wanting an answer over here in this sector of your life, let's say career and purpose. But God is talking over here in this sector of your life. Maybe it's regarding your health. Maybe it's this over in this sector regarding your relationship. Maybe it's over in this sector regarding your financial. God is always talking, always fucking talking, always talking. The question is, are you listening? And you're saying, but God, I want the answer over on my purpose. And God's saying, hey, motherfucker, how about doing these other things I'm making you feel called to do? But I'm betting you're wanting to know my purpose, so your life purpose, right? And I'm going to tell you, you want to know the reason you can't hear it? It's in you. It's not out there. You're not waiting for anything. It's already in you, dude. Guaranteed. And I've been doing this shit for 30 plus years, and the whole pastor shit and the God shit, I'll fucking have that conversation all day and all fucking night. No, it's in you. It's just that you have so many other voices inside of you that are obstructing the flow of you being able to hear God's voice. You, more than anybody tonight, needs to read the book. there's a hole in my love cup. Do you want to know why? Because that's going to help you extract all those other messages, just like this female friend of yours whose family is controlling her. You've got expectations. You've got other voices, not the very least of which is from society, from social media. You should this, you should that. What about this? And you're seeing all your friends, but they're having all these successes. And so you've got so many different conflicting voices inside of you. And you want to know how I know? Because I was where you are at that age and older. And I didn't have anybody cueing me in on how to fucking get through it. I had to figure this shit out for myself. And I am telling you, as a matter of fact, don't start asking God what his calling for your life is. Start going inside and getting out all the things that aren't your calling, which requires the courage to identify the paths that don't feel good. The path to discovering who you are requires discovering who you're not. And having the brass balls to say no. Having the brass balls to quit that which is not you. And you can really accelerate that process by going inside and identifying the messages you've been taught to believe about yourself that are those viruses and, running your operating system. Well, you should really care about making a lot of money, or you should really care. Well, a man should be a protector and provider. Yeah, but what if that's not what I feel called to do? What if I don't even want to have a family? Well, you got to have a family, says society, or says your parents or whatever. No, I don't. That's not me. You can't hear your voice, and we're at the very root of who we are, the voice of the universe, or voice of God, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and our own voice becomes indistinguishable. But you can't get down there because you got all these other voices and expectations and fears inside of you. And until you get that shit out of you, motherfucker, you ain't going to be able to hear that voice inside of you. And I say motherfucker only with love, of course.
Put another way, if you meditate only to get the benefit, you'll never get the benefit.
Fucking voodoo Buddha shit right there, man.
Exactly.
All right. No, Spencer writes, I don't question my God. My job is simply to have faith. He will tell me in due time. No. Your job is to get out all those other messages, Spencer. Oh, and he writes back, you told me about the statue of David last year when Michelangelo was carving David. And he said, Michelangelo just said, I'm just carving away that which is not David, which is what I'm saying. Go inside and get out all the voices that are not with you. It stuck with me. I'm 32. That's why her family doesn't like me. I had a terrible life prior and made my mistakes, and I stand up to them and they don't like it. Of course they don't. And so she's probably feeling stuck choosing you versus choosing them. And the truth is, it's okay if she doesn't choose you, except you don't want to be with someone who doesn't choose you, because you would be her new family. All right. Next question. This is from Marissa Finamori. How do I manage to stop feeling lonely and stop waiting for people I care for to care for me? The way you stop feeling lonely, as with all feelings that we're trying to no longer feel, whether it's love or pain or sadness or grief or anger, is to get it out of you. And how do you do that? By journaling, by writing letters you don't send. You have to be flushing. But to stop feeling lonely is also being driven by what's happening when you're lonely, what you're afraid of, what you're experiencing. So it's not just the loneliness, it's the sadness, it's the anger, it's all the other feelings that are coupled along with or clustered around that loneliness. Start flushing it out and waiting for people I care for to care for me. You have to, the reason you're waiting is you're hoping. They have something you want. And anytime anyone has something that you want, they have the power to make you miserable by withholding it. So at some point you walk away from the people that don't want to love on you. And the more you do that, and the more you start catching it when it's small, the more you start bringing into your life people who make it through it when it's small. And they give a little more and they give a little more till eventually you reach the point where you have relationships with people you can't outgive. But your life is cluttered right now with people who don't want to give to you, and you are allowing that. So you're fundamentally saying to the universe, you're saying to life, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with not getting my needs met. Your life is cluttered, and you have to remove the detritus, the clutter of people in your life who aren't loving on you. And you have to, and that is an affirmation of self. It's standing up and saying, no, I don't want this in my life anymore. I don't want these people in my life anymore. I don't want this treatment in my life anymore. All right, next question. All right, Speed King 6 says, are you religious? My quick answer is no. You can go on Wikipedia right now and look up spiritual but not religious. And in about the second paragraph on there, my name is there. I wrote the very first book on that phenomenon, started writing it back in 95. It was published in 1999. It was the very first book on the spiritual but not religious phenomenon. There was some scholarly paper that had come out a couple years earlier that I didn't hear about until decades later. Otherwise, no one had ever heard of it till I wrote that book. I'm literally the first person to write on the spiritual but not religious phenomenon, which has now become the single biggest spiritual/religious movement in the history of the United States. So, am I religious? I was at the time, and I was a Lutheran pastor for many years and so forth. Do I go to church or go to synagogue, go to temple every now and then? Sure. Why? I enjoy the experience. Am I spiritual? Yeah, very much so. Religious? Less so. But I have many rituals in my life, and I have immense respect for religion when it is done well. And it's funny, I go to a very Christian coffee shop only because I like it and it's cute and I believe in supporting small businesses. And what's funny at this overtly, egregiously like Christian coffee shop, like they have Bible verses on the wall and shit, no lie. But it's just a cool little shop. And the woman who owns it, it's just, she made a really homey, nice shop and everybody goes there, and it's in a blue collar neighborhood and so forth. One of the nicest people I've met who goes there regularly is the rabbi of the temple just about a mile and a half away. And he and I have become friends. We'll stand and talk and all this. And he goes there. So nobody gives a shit. So what's the point? It's just, it ain't about religion, man. It's about love of people and connecting with people. It's about spirituality and feeling the soul and the spirit of another person and connecting at that level. And, as my parents' generation said, and they taught it to my generation, don't talk religion or politics with people. That's where I think that generation had it right. All right, one last final question. All right. Eva Liz says, why do I have a hard time accepting that I am loved? Because, Eva Liz, you were taught at some age, very young, that you got a message. You got messages, and those could have been conveyed explicitly through words or implicitly through nonverbals, through God, or laughter when you said something, or mocking, or through neglect, or through some other form of abuse. But you got the message that you are unlovable, that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy of love, that you're not wanted, that you're not wantable, that who you really are doesn't matter, that no one cares about you. You got some messages that got pressed into the wet cement of your soul, and those became the viruses infecting the operating system of who you are. So now here you are at, whether it's 35 or 65, here you are, finding it difficult to believe you're loved. Why? Someone is trying to love on you, yet you have this belief system inside of you that says, no, you're not lovable. No, I'm not lovable. No, I'm broken. If somebody knew who I really was, if this person knew who I really was, they wouldn't love me. And so you likely live in fear of revealing who you really are. I think I've told you guys before, I have a tattoo on my back, and it's a tattoo tribute to my second wife. It's my nickname for her. And I actually had it put on after I divorced her. Now, most people would say, why the hell would you ever put a tattoo? You never put a tattoo on of a person. Why? Because what if you break up? Then you look like a fucking moron for having that person's name. Oh, Samantha. You have it on your back or whatever it was. That wasn't her name. But then you have that forever on your back. And boy, do you look stupid. And my response to that is, it's not the scars on someone's body that you got to be worried about. It's the scars inside someone's body on their heart that are going to do the most fucking damage. But that's not really the point. The point is, that most people are saying is, don't do anything that might outlast a relationship. Right? Like a tattoo. What if you break up? Then you're stuck with this thing that yeah, but by that logic, you shouldn't have children. Because if you get a divorce, those children are going to last far fucking longer than your fucking relationship. But the real issue is don't do anything that might make you look foolish. And I just choose not to live that way. Cowards live that way. Fuck it, live large. But that doesn't get to the point. Why do you have a hard time accepting that you're loved? And what the hell does that have to do with a tattoo on my back? What it has to do with is I got that tattoo afterward. After I broke up with her, I wasn't trying to get her back. I got the tattoo afterward. Why? As a gift to her. And you're like, how the fuck is that a gift to her? I wanted to convey to her definitively. She knew I wasn't trying to win her back. I wanted to convey to her definitively that I loved you. Because she never believed it. And not because of my failure of action, but because she had it written on the encoding inside of her. That she wasn't lovable, that she wasn't good enough. And so she could never fully embrace it and accept it and believe it. And so I gave her this one last gift. I'm going to take this permanent mark of you because I was trying to love you. I did love you. So What I'm getting at, Eva Liz, is that you have messages inside of you that are blocking you from believing it. So anytime someone tells you they love you, you instantly don't trust them because it goes against everything that you believe about yourself. You see them as a non-credible source, and you are convinced, I can't let them see the real me, because if they did, their love feels good, but I don't fully believe it. And if they saw the real me, they wouldn't love me. And so then there's a fear of opening up, so you stay hidden behind your walls. Right. And until you go back into those core beliefs and begin to identify them and where they came from and who they came from, and thereby get them out of you. Remember, naming the beast is half the problem. Until you do that, those beliefs are still going to afflict you. That's why you need to read the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Rob, great show tonight.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
One thing about that Christian coffee shop, at least they know their beans.
Always the jokester, aren't you, Rob? Always Mr. Tricksterism. And I love you for it.
Well put.
Well put. Mr. Tricksterism. Well, folks, this has been a lovely encounter with you all. For those of you who are watching me live, I want to apologize. I forgot I was going to have a white background and I wore a white shirt. So forgive me for that brain fart of an experience. So I've sort of blended in. So if you thought I'm Mr. Invisible, I actually am. It's like when we used to watch Bewitched, right? Anyway, that's because everything was invisible on that show, you know. Okay. Anyway, thanks, guys, for tuning in. On behalf of my team here, KC and Rob, I thank you for all your great questions, wherever you're tuning in from. Slay your demons, please, and have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.